So, hey guys, today we're going to be talking about a bunch of different boss monsters in general. We're mostly going to be covering my favorites, but before that, I have a pretty interesting replay to show you guys. So, this replay goes pretty hard in my opinion. I don't even remember what the replay after this one is, but alright. Going second. So, my opponent here is on Branded. So yeah, we're going to do this for Blazing Cartesia, normal summon Kit. They checked, realized I had no Ash, so they just went directly to Kit, Grand Fusion, and then, oh, here's the issue. They had nothing in graveyard, so of course I had no triggers because I have 3 Bystials in hand. But now we have some triggers, alright? So we'll banish that, and we'll banish that, Lubellion, Fallen of Valbaz, and then from the hand we use Spriggan's Kit and Fallen of Valbaz from hand, and we're sending our Branded Sword. Okay, but then we're going to return the Fallen of Valbaz with the sword. Summon Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade effect, I will just simply tribute the Magnamut to banish the Mirror Jade. Grand Guignol sends Vice King Requiem for some reason. I can't even check this guy's deck list because this was a rated duel or whatever. But alright. Grand Guignol effect can summon Quem now because I summoned the Druisworm. But I had to do that, of course, to banish the Albion in the graveyard. And then my opponent activates the effect of Blazing Cartesia, and they sent the Golden Sword Soul with Guiding Quem, so I'm a little bit lost on what they're actually playing. And then we special summon Fallen of Valbaz to summon Sprint. And then in this case, I'll just, I guess I'll send Quem. Sure. And then we'll add Lubellion. And then I'll Lubellion effect. And yeah, they give up. I have yet to show them what deck I'm actually on, and they already give up because they got Bestial 3 times, which is just unfortunate. Happens to the best of us. Sometimes I think in my head when I'm playing Blackwing, yeah, I can play around like 1 or 2 Bestials, and then the third one drops, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't say I could play around 3, So well, that's me talking to myself in my head, I guess. But all right, get it on with it. All right. Today we're talking about my favorite boss monsters in general. So one of my favorites of all time, we have Doom King Ballardrock. So Doom King Ballardrock is pretty efficient. If we're thinking about like boss monsters, Doom King Ballardrock has 2 different interactions tied to it, making it very, very efficient, right? Without being a straight up floodgate, which is a bit intense, but technically we could argue that Plasma is just infinite monster negates, which is kind of, busted in its own kind of way. But alright, Doom King Ballardrock is a very fun card in my opinion, so it really feels like a zombie boss monster. During the standby phase, if a face-up card is in a field zone and this card is in your graveyard, you in special summon this card in defense position. You can only use this effect of Doom King Ballardrock once per turn. Once per chain, when a zombie monster, except for Doom King Ballardrock, activates its effect, except during the damage step. Quick effect, you can apply one of these effects, but you cannot apply that same effect of Doom King Ballardrock again this turn. Negate that effect, or banish one monster from the field or graveyard. So the negate effect right here, and the banish one monster from the field or graveyard effect, if we just get plainly straight up negated on Doom King Ballardrock, we can activate this effect again because it was never activated. So let's assume we get Apo'd on our Doom King. We can do Doom King again, and it doesn't use up any of our 2 effects, which is pretty cool. Doom King also comes back every single turn, albeit in defense position, so it's like a bit awkward to push for lethal because it keeps summoning itself in defense. We have banished one monster from the field or graveyard, and this is a non-targeting banish, so that's pretty strong. So the most annoying thing is that, for example, let's assume our opponent controls like, I don't know, a Baron de Fleur. All right. And then they also control maybe like a Yugioh here, but Yugioh is actually a bit too good. So let's just say instead they control a, I don't know, maybe a Changing. And our opponent here is attempting to Vishuda our Doom King. And let's assume it's legal for them to try to bounce back the Doom King. So we're going to chain the Doom King to the Vishuda. And then here, our opponent might be thinking, okay, they're going to just negate this, and maybe because this is going to banish the Vishuda, the Changing is going to resolve next chain to remove the Doom King, and they'll negate the other effect of Doom King when Doom King triggers again, or something, because they don't really know what the card does. So Doom King, if we go through this in the entirety of this effect here, once per chain, when a zombie monster except for Doom King Ballad Rock activates its effect, right here, quick effect, and then you can see the colon here, you can apply one of these effects. So we don't choose the effect. Like, our opponent does not know what we are doing with Doom King, assuming we have both effects still live. So I can actually choose to either negate the effect that's activating or banish one monster from the field or graveyard. So in this case, I can actually just resolve the effect of banish and just banish the Changying here, and then allow the Vishuda to return my Doom King Ballad Rock to the hand. And this all happens essentially in chain resolution. So when I actually pick these effects, it's chain resolution. When I pick the targets for Doom King Ballad Rock, also in the resolution. And just in general, of course, we have a monster negate and non-targeting banish, which are very powerful effects. And specifically what we can negate is it's going to be in chain to any zombie monster's effect. So we can negate any zombie monster effect. And of course, with Zombie World, this satisfies a lot of conditions for Doom King Ballad Rock. So during the standby phase, if a face-up card is in a field zone, so this will be our field spell, Zombie World. And this will also make our opponent all of their monsters into zombies. So this applies to all monsters in the graveyard and the field. And then, therefore, our boy here, Doom King Ballad Rock, is going to be able to negate any monster effects activated either in the graveyard or the field. And then for hand traps, we can negate any of the zombie ones. So like Ghost Mourner, Bell, Ash Blossom, Joyous Spring. We can negate all of those as well. And Doom King also triggers when we activate an effect as well. So if I were to activate, let's say Time Thief Redoer, I can then chain Doom King to banish one of my opponent's cards as well at the kind of same time. So yeah, one of my all-time favorite cards right here, Doom King Ballad Rock. If we just focus on the interaction between like cards with Zombie World, I think that's incredibly fun. And I mean, some decks are just going to get floodgated by like Zombie World, but honestly, the majority aren't. It's actually just kind of how it is. Yeah, unlucky interaction that some decks have. Not Doom King or Zombie World's fault, I would argue. Your whole deck requiring like Cyber Skies, not my fault. Your entire graveyard being zombies and not Cyber monsters, meaning you can't special summon them, not my fault. Simply should have played like Unchained Priest support, you know, where you didn't even need a Fiend monster. But alright, it is what it is. And also worth mentioning is this just beats Halcyon because machines no longer exist on the field, which is kind of funny, I guess. But alright, let's move it along. Alright, so Let's see. Next on the list, we'll go with, I guess, let's go with another one of, well, actually, But what else do I have? I think I should have something in here, right? All right, let's see. Another one of my favorites. Surely I should have put it somewhere here. Well, another one of my favorite boss monsters, I guess, are the Vendred ones. So the Vendred boss monsters, also a zombie deck, but yeah. Revendred Executor is pretty fun for some of the same reasons as Doom King. So Revendred Executor, if you specifically summon this guy with a Vendred Core, Revenants, and Hound Horde, it gains all of their effects. So with Hound Horde, we gain the effect to soft once per turn, quick effect, banish one of our opponent's spell traps that they control. With the Revenants, we're able to banish a special summon monster our opponent controls. And then with Core, it makes it so our Executor is not targetable by card effects. And then Executor makes it so that our cards, out of all of our cards, the only one that is targetable is Executor. So with all of these guys combined, this is only going to take up one of our main monster zones, leaving us up with the EMZ up, and then still 4 more monster zones with different monsters. So with Executor, we're going to be able to do 2 different banishes, then make our entire board untargetable. So overall, 1 form of protection, 2 different forms of just, I guess, removal, which is pretty great. Well, the one upside I guess this has against specifically Doom King is that I guess you actually have a way to interact with back row here. Doom King does not have any way to interact with back row, which is a bit of a painful situation when no zombie card really has any way to interact with back row. So yeah, that's pain and suffering. And well, actually, there is one. There's Shiranui Sun Saga, which can pop. And then there's like a Mayakashi, which can also maybe like pop spells and traps. But yeah, just in general, there are very few zombie cards that even interact with the back row at all. But yeah. Technically, Vendreds have a way, at least, which is something. And you might be thinking, oh, so we can like just use Hound Horde twice to make a Vendred monster able to like banish 2 spells and traps. I mean, technically possible, but not on the same turn, because the effects to gain the effect here is hard once per turn for whatever reason, which is just incredibly awkward. But yeah, all right. Yeah, Executor, pretty cool. And the gimmick for these Vendred cards, somewhat interesting. Pretty hefty though. Hard to actually have a truly like filled out end board with like all the guys if you have summoned an Executor, and it requires like, at minimum, we're going to assume we have like a ritual spell to ritual summon, and then these 3 guys. Yeah, that's not really super easy to get access into. So yeah, you're going to need like a decent amount of main deck cards, just kind of for this. So all right. Next, we'll go with the Therion cards. So Therion Irregular is honestly pretty interesting. So we can target up to 3 Therion monsters in your graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand. If you do, equip them to this card. You can discard 1 Endless Engine Gyro System, destroy all cards your opponent controls. While this card is equipped to a monster, you can special summon this card. Then equip the monster this card was equipped to. This card. Wait, what? You know, equip the monster this card was equipped to this card. You can only use each effect if they're in a regular card once per turn. Yep. So a regular, pretty cool. And the interesting thing is that you can use this card with Endless Engine Gyro System, and you can keep looping Endless Engine Gyro System. So, for example, if I just have like Aetherion Lily Berea, and well, just somewhere, right? Some access to Lily Berea's effect, I can send, I guess, itself to add like Aetherion Discoliseum, and that's probably fine. And then Therion Discoliseum will be in the graveyard. Then I can add Endless Engine Gyro System, returning the Therion Discoliseum to my deck, adding this to the hand. This will allow me to then send with a regular to then activate the effect to destroy all of the cards my opponent controls. Not a quick effect, unfortunately, but then Endless Engine Gyro System goes back to the graveyard. Next turn, I can do this all over again. Unless I suppose maybe I draw into this, in which case I could still Therion Bull-Ein effect to pop a Therion card. And then try to pop one card my opponent controls, and then grab like the Endless Engine Gyro System once again. So pretty neat in the fact that like it can recycle my cards, like it can recycle the Therion Cross. And then we can send this to the graveyard, grab Therion Cross as well. So it recycles your own cards, and it has an actual usage when you do recycle the card. So kind of neat in that regard. And then with, let's see, what else do we have here? In terms of boss monsters, has anything piqued my interest in a while? I guess there's also this. So we have Blackwing Full Armor Master. So Full Armor Master is honestly just pretty chill, I think. So it's just not that difficult of a TARS to deal with. It's only just the 3k guy. But I mean, some decks just don't have ways to really deal with Blackwing Full Armor Master. But when it comes down to it, if we're focusing on just the Full Armor Master, we're essentially challenging our opponent here. I have a Blackwing Full Armor Master, and you can activate all your effects. My Blackwing Full Armor Master, for the most part, doesn't do anything. So if you can out the Full Armor Master, I'm done. You know, there's not that much recovery unless I top deck something crazy, but you'll have the entirety of your end board anyway still. But if my Blackwing Full Armor Master does survive, we have several things we can use. So first, once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls with a wedge counter, and we can take control of it. And this is just forever. We can just yoink our opponent's guy. And of course, Blackwing Full Armor Master being a unaffected monster, you can't negate this effect. So let's assume, for example, maybe you activated an Apollousa. That is now my Apollousa. Well, alright. Once per turn during your end phase, you can destroy all monsters on the field that have a wedge counter. So yeah, there's also a board wipe after this, and you'll have to try to out Blackwing Full Armor Master again. And I'll probably not have lethal with this, so you'll have some opportunities to likely attempt to out the Full Armor Master. So it can get kind of back and forth. But I mean, with the new support, the new support, it kind of helps out a little bit with how you have Sharanga and also Chinook. So we have Sharanga once per dual effect to do a quick effect pop, and then we have Chinook, which is a quick effect negate, and this can also lower a monster's attack and not just negate its effects. And this is kind of like a continuous negate with like Imperm. Instead of just negating directly one effect, this just negates the monster for the rest of the turn. So when we pair that with Blackwing Full Armor Master, I think it's a pretty fun and interesting card. And technically, Blackwing Full Armor Master is multiple interactions because of these guys, which makes it feel more like a boss monster than it did before. And I kind of like that, actually. So now, I just have one quick ruling question that just came up. Alright, let's assume we make a monster with IP Masquerena. A link monster that used this card as material cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So this is a really trippy effect on IP Mask. So a link monster that used this card as material cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So noticeably, even if we were to negate the monster that you made with IP Masquerena, this effect was not given to the link monster. This is just applied just continuously forever. But all right, what if I take that monster, like let's say, I don't know, for whatever reason, I guess we'll just say we have a Crusadia Avramax. So I know that this cannot be targeted normally, so let's assume I droplet the Avramax and then I use the Full Armor Master effect to take the Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avramax that was made with IP and something else. It doesn't matter what the other thing was. If I then activate the effect of Full Armor Master here to destroy all monsters on the field that have a wedge counter, and because I stole like the Avramax, obviously Avramax has a counter as well, right? Is the Avramax destroyed by the Blackwing Full Armor Master effect, or is it protected by IP Masquerena? Because technically this is not my IP Masquerena effect, so would I still be considered the opponent in this case? I genuinely don't know, because I can see this going either way. Like, there's probably some reasoning to this that makes sense, but yeah, before we get too deep into that, you know, I think it's pretty cool that we can have like the Arena regular with like Lily Brea or some other guy attached, and then we have like Foom and Regulus, so we can bounce back one of our extra guys, and then we can technically, if we want, we can Regulus effect send the guy we added back to the hand, or we can like send Foom. Like, we have access to all of these guys. Could use like one more guy that's actually an interaction though for our Darien cards. But yeah, Darien Irregular I think is pretty nifty. And one of the things I like that Konami has been doing more recently is they're adding like a lot more archetypal kind of like boss monsters rather than just straight up generic ones. I mean, of course we are still getting generic ones, but I like what they've done with the archetypal ones just more in general. So for example, if we look at like just the Fire King cards, right? These cards are kind of useless, and there are a lot of boss monsters that are kind of like this now. So let's say, for example, we control, it can be any of these three, any of the big guys. So where is Garunix? There we go. Fire King High Avatar Garunix, Sacred Fire King Garunix, or Fire King High Avatar Kirin. So all of these guys are actually useless if you snatch steal them, or if you just steal them in general. They're just like if my opponent steals this from me, this becomes just a 2.4k guy. This is a 2.7k guy. This is also a 2.7k guy, and they're essentially just a little bit worse than Blue Eyes, which I like. So if we go to like just in general, like Chi-Shao, this card is also completely useless if you steal it. So quick effect, you can banish a Sword Soul card or one Were monster from your hand or graveyard, then target one other effect monster on the field, negate its effects until the end of the turn. So this is only really useful if you're in the mirror, essentially. But these guys aren't even useful in the mirror. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes, I guess. Unless you were able to quick effect snatch steal the Grunix, I think, then Do you get to resolve the effect? No, I don't think so, right? Unless you steal it, like non-targeting steal it before the trigger happens on the Grunix. Like I don't see that really happening that easily, right? It would have to be a trigger snatch steal that happens as Chainlink 1 into Garunix special summon Chainlink 2. Yeah, that's a bit wild, but alright. Let's see. I guess because this is a trigger in hand, this happens later anyways, but still like trigger speed of quick effect. But alright. Next we have Ninja, which kind of also is not really usable by our opponent. Like, you snatch steal a Maizen, you just have a 2.5k that can attack directly. If you steal Yaguru Maru, the Armor Ninja, it's just a 2k guy that's kind of just useless, honestly. Not that great. And even if this were like flip face down or anything, whatever, both of these guys, no matter what, you probably won't be able to activate their actual effects because you're not on Ninja. So just in general, I think a lot of these cards feel a lot better now that they're not as generic, even for like with activating their effects. So something like, I don't know, I mean, for certain reasons, I'm not really a fan of this card, but yeah, whatever. Lancia here, Lancia Ancestral Dragon of the Ice Mountain. I do like that this will special summon like ice barrier monsters, but the fact that they're all like essentially just floodgates is just pain and suffering. But I do think it's pretty cool that a lot of boss monsters, like if we also go to Mirror Jade, all of these guys become pretty damn useless once your opponent just takes them from you if they're not also playing exactly your deck. So, you know, it really feels a lot more like a boss monster in this case, in my opinion, right? And this applies to Yubel as well. So when we have like Phantom of Yubel, right? If you're not playing a Yubel in the main deck, you won't be able to activate Phantom of Yubel effect either if you take the Phantom of Yubel. And you don't have the continuous cards if you don't have those guys either, then this also feels pretty damn bad. And that's going to be because this guy really doesn't do anything on the field, right? But when our opponent controls this guy, it becomes quite a menace, right? So when our opponent controls this, this is a guy that cannot be destroyed by battle, and it essentially protects all of the other guys our opponent controls, and prevents them from prevents us from destroying them by battle. And then it also has the effect to quick effect change our monster effect into something else, which is specifically an interesting form of interaction because it bypasses certain forms of protection, and also with how this works, this plays around a skill drain as well. Even under a skill drain, we can still activate Yubel. But I mean, what effects are you activating under skill drain? I guess maybe you control plasma. Sure. Perhaps. And then we can just also be really annoying with this. So if you have guys in attack position, you have to run into the Phantom of Yubel. You must attack the Yubel. So pretty annoying in those regards. And yeah, Nightmare Pain plus Phantom of Yubel, pretty strong for a variety of reasons, and it does quite a lot of things just in general. Even more so if you have like a Nightmare Throne, is then this floats into like 2 guys, I think, right? Well, eventually it gets there. So yeah, pretty nifty effects in my opinion. And let's look for, I guess, one more interesting boss monster, I guess. So let's go with Crusadia Avramax, I guess. So Crusadia Avramax is somewhat generic to make, but this is, I suppose, like a boss monster for, I would argue, primarily Mech Knight and Crusadia. Crusadia probably makes this less than Mech Knight, honestly. Wouldn't be surprised, because you have Equimax, so you go into that instead. But in general, while this Link Summon card is on the field, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also, their monsters cannot target monsters for attacks except this one. Once per battle during damage calc, if this card battles a special summon monster, quick effect, you can make this card gain attack equal to the opponent's monster's attack during that damage calc only. If this Link Summon card you control is sent to your graveyard by opponent's card, you can shuffle one card on the field into the deck. So this effect is pretty nifty for a variety of reasons. So first off, if we're doing Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax against Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax, they will both be special summoned monsters. So yeah, this effect will apply, and the one who wins is going to be the turn player. So the attacking Avramax will always win that battle. And the unfortunate thing, though, is if this Link Summon card you control is sent to your graveyard by opponent's card, just card period, doesn't matter how. So you can Kaiju this, you can run this over by battle, it'll trigger as long as this is Link Summoned. If this Link Summon card you control is sent to your graveyard by opponent's card, you can shuffle one card on the field into the deck, like perhaps a untargetable Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax. But I mean, at least you get your 3k damage or so. So how this works is essentially Avramax 2 will take Avramax 1's attack, and then Avramax 1 will take all of the attack that got taken from it back, and the original attack of Avramax 2, if that makes sense. But alright, the effect here also kind of protects your other guys from battle, which is pretty useful with your Mech Knight guys with their actual effects. And if we combine this with, of course, Mech Knight of the Morningstar, these guys can become quite a menace to out in Mech Knight with World Legacy Secret and all that, right? So you're getting essentially like hit by IO Skill Drain and whatever the trap one's called, Imperial Decree or something. Well, whatever. So yeah, Crusadia Avramax I think is pretty nifty. Just well, as long as it's being played like mostly for what it's intended for, I guess. So the really annoying thing, I guess, about Crusadia Avramax is, well, if this is being used to protect, like, for example, a floodgate, that's pretty nasty. If we have, like, I don't know, a lot of different things, honestly, like with U-Link, when you make Crusadia Avramax and U-Link, that's kind of painful. But alright. Now we have like other ways to kind of do like the Avramax effect to make our opponent only able to do battle with X card or Y card. So yeah, not as bad as before, but if you were to control an Avramax with a Jowgen, that is just truly painful. So alright, that's well, maybe not all of them, because I probably forgot like a couple, but yeah, in general, these were a lot of my favorite boss monsters. So if you guys have any favorite boss monsters of your own, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and we can talk about them, I guess. So yeah, Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax made with IP is just so difficult to out, just somewhat in general. But it is kind of funny how like six samurai can actually out this by looping. So if you were to loop enough times with a gate can gain attack. So if you just normal summoned like a 6 Sam and then kept increasing its attack with Gateway of the 6, you can just run over the Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax, because this effect only works against special summon guys. So you can just have like a, I don't know, like a 50k attack guy run into Magnetic Crusadia Aphromax from your looping, and then just yeah, and beat the Aphromax that way, I guess. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.